Welcome to our webinar, Bullying Prevention in High School. Our project staff includes myself, Carol Fox, Mark Dawkins, Jenna Easton, and Bob Garrity. Our project director is June Jenkins, and our project coordinator is Lois Wallenhorst. Today you'll be hearing from, in addition to myself, Mark Dawkins, Jenna Easton, and Bob Garrity. We are a federally funded grant that is overseen by a core management team. On the slide, you see a number of our community partners from both the Albemarle County School System and the Charlottesville City School System, as well as many community partners. Our grant is divided into 5 elements. The first element is school safety. You see they are listed the 3 programs that are involved in school safety. The Olveus Bullying Prevention Program, restorative practices in both the middle and the high schools, and security cameras which were installed in our middle and high schools. Element 2 is alcohol, tobacco, and other drug use. We use the Pennsylvania model of student assistance programming in both our middle and high schools. We also work with social norms marketing at the high school level and Project TND, which is Toward No Drugs, in our alternative schools. Element 3 is the student behavior social emotional support element. This involves responsive classroom at the elementary school, developmental designs at the middle school, and some of our schools are also implementing Second Step. The 4th element of our program is mental health services. It involves motivational interviewing at the middle and high school levels, as well as Teen Intervene. Element 5 is the early childhood component. This involves the high scope program for both the 3-year-olds and 4-year-olds, as well as family support workers. To help us when we were looking at the various grant programs that we are implementing in our schools, and to help us communicate that to our various stakeholders, we put together a Venn diagram to show the benefits of just implementing one program versus implementing all of the programs together. As you can see from this slide, the restorative practices program on the right side of the screen in the blue circle, you see added benefits of talking about restitution, fair process, repairing the harm. It also brings in the notion of a systems change, building community and balancing power, and protecting those who are harmed. Implementing the Olveus Bullying Prevention, which focuses solely on bullying behavior and strategies. Again, it addresses bullying behavior. It has a student and staff responsibility. It is both preventative and responsive in nature, and it involves the parents. On the outside of each of these circles, you see the individual components that you would receive from implementing the program. On the inside center circle, you see the overlap of the skills and strategies and outcomes that would occur as a result of implementing all programs with fidelity. In our webinar today, we hope that you will gain an understanding of the following points. We'll define bullying and identify the types of bullying behaviors. We'll explore the different roles in bullying situations. We'll recognize misdirections in bullying prevention. We'll identify strategies to address bullying, and we'll provide resources for bullying prevention. As we previously mentioned, we implement several evidence-based programs. However, the Olveus Bullying Prevention Program is the only program that solely focuses on bullying prevention. Therefore, for the purposes of our project, we use the Olveus bullying definition that you see on your screen. Bullying is when someone repeatedly and on purpose says or does mean or hurtful things to another person who has a hard time defending him or herself. Bullying involves 3 key components. It involves an aggressive behavior. It is typically a pattern of behavior that is repeated over time, although we'll address the typically piece further on in the webinar today. It also involves an imbalance of power or strength, which we will also further illustrate in a few moments.
In response to requests from schools that were not implementing the Olveus Bullying Prevention Program, we developed a training to address bullying through positive school climate. And one of the things that we talked about during that training were these challenges to defining bullying. You'll see that the first challenge is regarding whether or not the behavior is unwanted aggression or is it just rough play. cues to look for to answer this question are to look at the relationship between the kids and also look at things such as expressions of body language as well as the atmosphere of what's going on around the students. This challenge is especially common, particularly with boys. As mentioned earlier, an important step in defining bullying is that it must be unwanted aggressive behavior, which is often defined as the intentional use of harmful behaviors against another child. These behaviors may be threatened or real. How can we tell in the playground or in the hallway if behavior is actually aggressive or if it's just play? We can't always rely on children to tell us what's really going on, since children who bully may often explain their behavior as just messing around or as just in fun. Rather, we have to look at cues to help, such as how the children involved relate to each other, and again, looking at expressions and body language of all the kids involved. Another thing to consider is, are the students involved long-standing friends, or do they have a history of issues between them? What are their expressions and body language? Does it look like both of them are having fun, or is one showing obvious or subtle signs of distress? Remember that when in doubt, it's important to follow up, especially if you don't know the children well. And of course, even if a behavior you observe isn't bullying, it still may not be acceptable in a school or other setting. If you look at this chart here, this was initially provided by the Olveus Bullying Prevention Program. However, we adapted it to include friendly teasing and conflict. It helps us to distinguish the difference between friends who are just playing rough or teasing one another verbally, when individuals are in conflict, whether it's physical or verbal, and then of course when it is bullying. You'll see the first row addresses the relationship of the students. The second row addresses the power between students. The third row distinguishes the intent of the behavior. And then finally, what is the result of the interaction between the students? The second challenge to defining bullying is all about repeated behavior. The Olveus definition clearly distinguishes that the behavior is repeated. However, some schools of thought do not rely on the issue of repeated behavior. There must be multiple incidents of aggression, or if there's a concern that future incidents of aggression will occur. That's key. Bullied children typically experience multiple incidents of bullying or a pattern of aggression against them. But according to the CDC, bullying also may exist if there's a high likelihood that the behavior will be repeated. Just because bullying typically is repeated over time doesn't mean that a one-time incident isn't bullying or that adults should wait for a pattern to emerge before responding. Finally, the third challenge is the question of power imbalance. If you see here at this picture, this is sort of the stereotypical image that one might get when considering bullying. The big kid who is bullying the smaller kid who might be perceived as a nerd, maybe. But also consider the fact that the smaller kid in this picture might have more power than the bigger kid in certain situations. There are different ways to define power imbalance, such as popularity, background and demographic characteristics, such as whether a child is a member of a majority racial or ethnic group, or whether he or she has a high socioeconomic status. Whether he or she is in the majority regarding sexual orientation may also be considered. One important way that students often recognize power imbalance is access to money, resources, and information, such as who has the best clothes, who has the best cell phone, the best video game system, that sort of thing. Finally, one can also exert power over others by outnumbering them. For example, having a large group of friends to join in the bullying of a single child, or by having a weapon.
Next, we will get into the different types of bullying, and we're going to look mainly at direct bullying, which is an aggressive behavior that is directly communicated to a targeted child. For example, pushing, verbal taunting, mean text messages. We're also going to look at indirect bullying, which is an aggressive behavior that is not directly communicated to the targeted child, such as spreading false rumors. As you can see from the slide, we've listed a few examples being physical, verbal, cyberbullying, which can be both direct and indirect, relational bullying, which is the same as social or emotional, and then damage of property. The next slide is a picture of the Oveus Bullying Prevention Circle, and this is a great slide to use when talking with other staff members and talking to students to help identify the role that everybody plays in a bullying situation. If we would start in the middle with the letter H, that represents the student who's being bullied. Now if you direct your attention to the top left-hand corner, which is letter A, we'll start there and we'll work our way around the bullying circle. A represents the student who's doing the bullying, and they are typically the one who starts the bullying and takes an active role in it. The next person in line and closest to that person would be known as the follower. And the only real difference between the follower and the person doing the bullying is that they don't start the bullying, but they do take an active role. Moving along the continuum, you would next get to the supporter, and that's in position C. And they are also somebody that is in support of the bullying, but they do not take an active role in the bullying going on. They may be somebody standing on the outside, laughing or pointing, bringing attention to the situation. Next, you have the passive supporters, and they are once again in support of bullying, but they do not display an open show of support. Directly in the bottom, sitting in the middle, is the disengaged onlooker, and that's essentially what it sounds like. These are the people that have blinders on, and their whole role is they do not want to get involved. They don't see anything, they don't hear anything, because they feel that if they get involved, that could potentially come back to reflect on them in a negative way. Heading back up the other side, you have the possible defenders, and this is a person who dislikes bullying and think they ought to help, but they're not sure what they should do. And then lastly, at the top right corner, you have the defender in letter G, and they dislike the bullying and they help, and every time they see it, they help or try to help the bully student. As I mentioned before, this is a great activity to do among staff, just to help them recognize the roles that other students play, but also to show students exactly what's going on when somebody gets bullied. It shows them that it's not just something between the person doing the bullying and the person being bullied, and that they all play a role. That way they can determine whether or not they want to play an active positive role or an active negative role. This activity can also be found in the Oveus materials. The next slide is a video entitled Misdirections in Bullying Prevention by Catherine Bradshaw. Catherine Bradshaw is the Deputy Director of Johns Hopkins Center for Prevention of Youth Violence. She has extensive knowledge in the areas of aggressive behaviors and school-based prevention, as well as bullying prevention.
We all want to prevent bullying. It's a clear goal, but how we stop bullying behavior is not always clear.
Bullying is very complex. It's critical that we keep in mind some potential misdirections when we're thinking about trying to prevent bullying.
Bullying is a complex issue. As a result, some approaches that work well in other situations may be problematic when applied to bullying. We'll discuss 5 misdirections to avoid. Zero tolerance or 3 strikes and you're out policies are often used by schools in reaction to violent offenses, like carrying weapons or fighting. When it comes to bullying, zero tolerance is typically ineffective or can even make the bullying situation worse. Zero tolerance is not recommended because it's unrealistic and disruptive, given the number of students involved in bullying. It doesn't allow for intervention and may isolate children who bully from needed role models. Suspended or expelled students may have a lack of supervision when they stay home, and severe punishments can deter reporting.
When there's a zero tolerance policy in place, sometimes that can actually cut down on the number of individuals that are comfortable reporting bullying offense. They might be afraid of the zero tolerance policy or view it as too harsh or just solely punitive in nature, and doesn't actually provide an opportunity for intervention to stop the problem.
Conflict resolution and peer mediation can be effective ways to address many types of student conflicts, but not bullying. Conflict resolution and peer mediation is not recommended because it implies both parties bear responsibility and may further victimize the target.
In the case of bullying, we don't have a situation where there's just a disagreement. It's a situation of abuse. Quite often the victim doesn't really want to be seen in the role as a victim and doesn't want to be identified or brought out or made to feel even more emotionally targeted or physically targeted within that group. And bringing them face to face with the perpetrator often can validate those roles and that power differential between them.
Some schools address bullying behavior by implementing group therapeutic treatments like anger management counseling or empathy building. Group therapeutic treatment is not recommended because group members may model bad behavior, and group treatment that involves aggressors and children who are bullied can reinforce bullying behavior.
Similarly, you wouldn't want to have a group where you brought together victims and perpetrators within the same group, because that might serve to be very disempowering for the children that were targets of bullying. It could also reinforce that power differential between them.
Bullycide is a term that's come into recent use and should be avoided. This term suggests the overly simplistic notion that a suicide may be caused by only one factor. Those who actively work to prevent bullying can help prevent bad outcomes, including suicide. But bullying prevention efforts do not, in and of themselves, constitute suicide prevention. Although bullying may be a factor in suicide risk, it is often not the only one.
We also know that suicidal ideation is pretty common among youth. During adolescence, there are issues around impulsivity that very well could lead to a suicide that is actually completed. So it's important for us to be aware of that potential link between mental health and suicide and the role that bullying could serve within that. But we don't want to overstate that link here. We also want to be cautious to clarify that there isn't an epidemic of these concerns, but when there are certain instances of bullying that are linked in some way with suicide, that we recognize the role other factors like mental health could play in them.
Some schools address bullying as a topic on a single day during a staff training session, a parent-teacher meeting, an assembly, or even in the classroom. These types of efforts can represent important initial steps of a comprehensive long-term bullying prevention strategy, but they may not be effective in reducing bullying problems if implemented in a piecemeal way.
Independent or piecemeal types of approaches probably are really not going to be impactful. They might very well raise awareness during that one day, but they're not going to be sustainable types of efforts. So we really recommend having a more comprehensive and integrated approach that involves a variety of activities. Even though there are a number of misdirections we should really try to avoid in our bullying prevention efforts, there are a number of reasons why communities and practitioners should be optimistic about the issue of bullying prevention. There are a number of best practices that have been identified, and we also recognize the importance of the research documenting significant impacts of bullying on youth development and youth outcomes. So this is a critical time for us to take stock on the research and to identify what best practices and some potential strategies we should avoid.
So how do we prevent and stop bullying? It takes a comprehensive approach to help create the right culture for children and youth. StopBullying.gov is a resource developed by experts in the field to help develop long-term solutions that inspire a safe, respectful culture in your school and community. Visit StopBullying.gov for more information.
Now we will get into the surveys that we regularly conduct in the city and county schools here in Albemarle and Charlottesville. I will speak specifically about 3 surveys, that being the Peer Support Survey, the School Climate Survey, and the Bullying Prevention Survey Monkey. Starting first with the Peer Support Survey, This is a survey that's given to all students each fall in grades 4 through 12. This survey allows students to name their peers whom they believe to be targets of bullying. The results are tallied and counselors follow up with the students whose names are given 3 or more times. We provide counselors with talking points and a script to follow when they're talking to these students. Of course, it's not uncommon for students to report that they are not being bullied or that the bullying occurred in the past. Students who do report being bullied are then interviewed 4 weeks later to determine if the bullying has continued. Meanwhile, plans are made with the students to ensure their safety and to help in the bullying. If you look at the peer support survey slide on the right-hand copy, if you click on that form, it's a hyperlink and it will take you directly to a copy of that peer support survey. There is a slide that shows the peer support video, and we were fortunate enough to have our local Charlottesville and Albemarle students take part in this video, and it's a great way to get everybody on the same page as to what bullying is and what it isn't, and also encouraging them to take the survey as serious as possible so that we are able to help as many people that are affected by bullying. If you click on that slide, it will start the video.
You've heard a lot about bullying.
But here's what you need to know.
Bullying is a real problem.
Even if you're not involved, you know someone who is.
And the fact is, the effects of bullying can last a lifetime.
Bullying takes on different forms.
And you're going to need to know how to identify them.
Hey, give me the ball. It's my turn now. Hey, I was here first. Hey, I need my ball back. So, what are you gonna do about it?
Guys, come here. You have to look at this picture of Mary. What is she thinking?
That's so ugly.
You got to post that. That's too funny.
She thinks she's so cool. Wait till everyone sees this.
Oh, they will.
I can't wait to see her face tomorrow.
Check this out. Hey, nice hat. Your mommy buy that for you?
Actually, I bought it myself.
Actually, I bought it myself.
Wow, you talk dumber than you look.
What's wrong with my hat?
Other than the fact that you look like a loser.
So, what's the difference between bullying and just joking around?
Bullying is when one person uses their power to hurt someone else on purpose. Maybe that power is their size or strength, or maybe it's their popularity.
What all a bully really needs is the will to hurt somebody.
So think about it. Do you know anyone who's experiencing physical, verbal, or cyberbullying?
This survey is here to help. It's a way to get your voice heard.
It's completely anonymous. No one will know but you.
And it's not snitching if you're getting help for someone that really needs it.
The only person who is going to make your school a safer place for everybody is you. Do you care?
I care.
I care.
I care.
I care.
I care.
We care. Help stop the bullying.
And the next thing we'll talk about is the school climate survey. This is an electronic survey given every spring to students in grades 3 through 12. These surveys deal with school climate overall and also include bullying behavior. Once the surveys are completed, they're analyzed and an individualized school report is formed. When the school report is compiled, a member of the Safe Schools Healthy Students project leaders will meet with the administrator of that school and go over the reports, answer any questions that the administrator has. The Safe Schools project leader will also offer to review that information from the climate survey with the entire staff or any parent groups based on the administrator's wishes. The administrator typically uses this school climate survey data to help guide in school climate planning, specifically being the school improvement goals. The final survey that we'll talk about today is the SurveyMonkey survey, and this is an electronic survey also. This survey is given to whole school staffs. There are 2 tracks on this survey. One list of questions for students for schools that are implementing the Oveus Bullying Prevention Program, and then there's another track of questions for students who are not implementing the Oveus Bullying Prevention Program but have other bullying prevention activities in their schools. Once all this information is compiled, it produces an overall report, which is combined data from all of the schools in the city and the county of Albemarle. It also produces an individual report for each of the schools. This way we were able to examine with the administrators and with the staffs of each school to find out what activities are currently going on in the schools in the area of bullying prevention, and we can formulate goals and plans to help increase those activities to reduce the incidence of bullying in the schools. The next thing we will get into will be school-wide activities. As you can see from the slide, on the right is an example of an electronic announcement that we sent to all of the schools K through 12 this past October as part of Bullying Prevention Month. And it highlights a video challenge, pledge posters, and Mix It Up at lunch day. During this presentation, we will speak more about these activities.
Another activity that we do in middle and high schools are cyberbullying summits. These assemblies allow Safe Schools staff to work in collaboration with local Commonwealth attorneys' offices to present students as a large group and then in small breakout sessions. During the large group presentation, students learn about the social and legal ramifications of bullying. During breakout sessions, students participate in activities including individual and group work, as well as activities such as the Megan Myers Pledge. On this next slide, you'll see some PSA videos that we use during these summits. If you click on the link here, you'll see the video called Red Haired Boy.
Hey guys, look, it's Little Red Riding Hood. Oh, her hair's on fire. Better call 911. It's a loser. Oh, there she goes again. Better watch out for the big bad wolf. Stop.
Megan. Hey, Jessica. Megan, you're a tramp. Ryan Fitch told me you guys made out. Everybody knows. He said your breath smells like garbage. And he almost puked. He says you're the most desperate girl he knows, besides your mom. How many boyfriends does she have anyway? Lots? Your makeup makes you look like a clown. That zit is huge. Zit face. Ugly.
As part of the cyberbullying summits, students are encouraged to participate in a self-assessment intended to raise each student's level of awareness of cyberbullying behaviors that they may engage in. In addition, we mentioned students also participate in activities such as signing the Megan's Pledge. For those of you unfamiliar with this story, Megan Meyer was a 13-year-old girl who committed suicide. One of the factors contributing to her taking her own life as bullying and cyberbullying she had endured from both her peers and a peer's mother. This pledge encourages kids to take a stand against all forms of bullying behavior and to commit to not engaging in bullying behavior. On this next slide, you'll see a link to Mix It Up at Lunch Day. This is an annual event typically held in the fall, sponsored by Teaching Tolerance. The focus is to encourage students to identify, question, and cross social boundaries. On this day, students are asked to step out of their comfort zone and connect with someone new during lunch. You can get more information about Mix It Up Day on the Teaching Tolerance website at www.teachingtolerance.org. We support schools by providing materials including stickers for students who participate, advertisement posters, and information. You can click on the link "I was all mixed up" to get more information. Unity Day is hosted by Pacers National Bullying Prevention Center. Unity Day is an annual event held in October. Students and school staff are encouraged to wear orange to unite against bullying. This shows those being bullied that they are not alone and allows students to lead this movement against bullying. You can get more information about Unity Day by visiting Pacers' website at www.pacer.org/bullying. Safe Schools supported Unity Day by providing school administrators with official Unity Day t-shirts, and we also encouraged schools to have their staff and students wear orange. Some schools used this day as an opportunity to take a pledge against bullying, and you'll see here pictures from throughout our district with staff members and students all wearing orange.
Also, dealing with activities and programs, here's an example in the top left corner of an informational sheet that we released through the Safe Schools Healthy Students Project Office this month. February is Teen Dating Violence Awareness Month, and if you click on this link, you will see a variety of activities to help us recognize this month. Everything going from student announcements to short PSA videos, webinars for staff, and possible activities for student groups to engage in. At the bottom right-hand corner of the screen, you will see a cover of the Safe Dates curriculum book. Safe Dates is a program that we facilitate or co-facilitate in small groups throughout the city and county. Safe Dates is a teen dating violence prevention program offered through Hazelden. Here is another example of some resources that are provided. To the bottom left, you have the Oveus Bullying Prevention Circle. We have been able to create posters for schools based on requests, and they've been able to display them in the classrooms and other areas throughout the school. On the right is a copy of the school's anti-bullying rules. These are taken directly from Oveus, and at the top you'll notice the school's mascot. Students from one of our local high schools entered a video contest through stopbullying.gov. The video had to be completely created by students, directed and filmed by them also. This high school's video was one of 7 finalists out of over 900 videos submitted nationwide. Please click on the image to view the video. Be the hero.
You want your mommy? Little baby. Oh. Yeah, there we go.
I'm coming to save you! Aw, you crying? You want your mommy?
That was a good one.
Yeah, we got it.
Hey, really, guys? It's not funny, guys.
Other student-led initiatives include a pledge wall, tailgates, school-wide announcements, ribbons, and wristbands and t-shirts, bullying prevention committees, and presentations at other schools. In one of our schools we have a pledge wall where students put their handprints on the wall to indicate their support of bullying prevention at their school. Sometimes we will coordinate between 2 schools at a sporting event, such as a football game or a basketball game, and set up tables and provide tailgate activities for students and visitors to the game, and present information about bullying and bullying prevention during the tailgate and at the tables. Some schools have bullying prevention committees where the students inform and train other students as well as staff. And some of our students at the older schools have gone down to elementary schools and middle schools to provide presentations on bullying prevention to the younger students.
One of our high school groups designed a brochure that was also turned into posters to be displayed throughout the building. This group of students develops and implements a variety of activities throughout the school year designed to raise awareness about behaviors and activities that may be harmful to teenagers. Many of our high schools have similar student-led groups paving the way in their high schools. Another thing that we have done in our middle and high schools is implemented a peer-to-peer mentoring program called Girl Talk. We have a number of students from the middle school travel to the high school each week, 1 day a week, to participate in a variety of activities designed to increase pro-social behaviors. A number of our schools participate in No Name Calling Week, which occurs in early February. One of our high schools and another one of our middle schools designed T-shirts that represented No Name Calling Week. They had their given name written on the front or on a sleeve, and then on the back of the shirt they wrote names that they had been called that were offensive or that in some way hurt them. And again, this was to call attention to that notion that names don't really hurt when in fact they do.
Activities for classrooms include class meetings, various Olveus materials, integrating bullying prevention with academics and incorporating that with literature from language arts, and role plays. Class meetings is a key component of any bullying prevention effort. Class meetings are a way to meet at least once a week in classrooms so that children get to know each other. And when folks get to know each other well, there tends to be less bullying in a group or in a school. When folks get to know each other well, because they are acquainted and they do understand each other more, they're less likely to bully, and they're more likely to support each other when bullying is happening or stop bullying when. One of the middle schools in the area decided that it was difficult for them to have class meetings in all of their different classrooms, so they established a weekly teacher advisory program. So they add a 30-minute period to the week. During the teacher advisory time, teachers provide activities or dialogue groups to talk about various issues and help build community in their schools. Using the concepts of bullying prevention, you can intertwine the bullying prevention ideas and the academic. In addition, the Olveus materials provide DVDs with scenarios that you can use in class meetings or in classrooms that give situations that people are working through, and it's a good stimulant for conversation about bullying and bullying prevention. The school bus is often a place where conflict and bullying takes place. Behavior needs to be improved sometimes on school buses. So schools take a variety of approaches to that, and we support them in that. Some schools provide bus safety meetings, either at the whole grade level or in classroom levels or school-wide. We've provided training for new drivers and current drivers in the local school divisions on bullying and bullying prevention. Student meetings are often very useful in getting the students who ride a certain bus to have conversations about what it is to ride on the bus, what the expectations are, and what they're willing to do to make the bus a safe place. We've also created various resources for drivers and teachers to use to improve bus behavior. Some of the staff resources we provided are occasional statewide bullying prevention networking conferences that we've hosted here in Charlottesville, where we've invited folks from around the state who are implementing bullying prevention programs or are curious about bullying prevention programs to learn more about what other schools are doing and some of the various concepts and methods used in bullying prevention. We've also provided professional development in the region by training staff at different schools in bullying prevention. We provide introductory lessons for schools to get acquainted with bullying prevention. We provide the full bullying prevention training under the Olveus program. We've also developed a specific program for schools that are not implementing bullying prevention through the Olveus program, but are very interested in some sort of advanced knowledge and understanding of how to prevent bullying at their schools. Our bullying prevention newsletter, which is online, if you click the image, you can go to that. Staff discussion groups where teachers get involved in discussing what kind of behaviors or bullying are going on in their school or in their classrooms to be more integrated in how they work with each other and how they prevent bullying. We provide bullying prevention tip sheets. that you can look at on our website. And we also get involved with staff and students on book studies. One book that we've used is Odd Girl Out, Revised and Updated, The Hidden Culture of Aggressive Girls by Rachel Simpson. Parents are a key part of bullying prevention. We provide various information sessions or sources for parents. At various schools, we have presented to PTO organizations and parent groups on the results of the climate surveys, the data that has come from hearing from the students about their impressions of bullying in their schools. We've done presentations on bullying prevention and internet safety for parents at PTO meetings. Internet safety is something that's commonly in the news and folks have a great concern about. As a grant-funded project, we submit a mid-year annual report. This report is a compilation of the work we have done and is submitted to our federal project office. In addition, this report is used with various stakeholders to help illuminate the growth that our project has made in our efforts to reduce bullying and cyberbullying in our youth. Please remember that changing the culture of a school is something that requires a team effort and does not happen overnight. When looking for programs, resources, and materials, we suggest that you thoroughly examine what is available and select materials that are age appropriate for the student populations you work with, and that the materials are evidence-based. For additional information, we have some resources for you. You can follow us on Twitter, and you can check us out on Facebook.
We hope that you have found this webinar to be useful. And again, please do not hesitate to contact us if we can be of any further assistance. Thanks for joining us.